Now, we're transitioning to a new system. If we have only nonmetals in the compound, these are covalent compounds, which are also called molecular compounds. And the naming system is really easy. So we're going to use a prefix to show how many atoms of that element are present, and the name will always end in IDE. If there's only one atom of the first element, we actually omit the prefix mono. Here are some examples. So 3 that we're going to name and then 1 that we'll write the formula for. All right, so the first element there is phosphorus. So we'll name that first. And the number of phosphorus is 2. So you go up to this list. 2 is di. So it's diphosphorus. Next, we have oxygen, but it needs to end in IDE. And the number of oxygens in this compound is 5, and the prefix for 5 is penta. It is optional to put that A in there. I think pentoxide sounds just fine. All right, carbon is the first element, and there's only one. This is where we have this rule. If there's only one atom, mono is omitted. So you say carbon. Next, we have 4, which would be tetra. And this is chlorine, but we have to name it with an IDE suffix. Here we have silicon, and this is fluorine. The prefix for 6 is hexa. And then we have IDE, fluoride. Next, dichlorine. So this means 2 chlorine, so it's Cl2, heptoxide, so 7 oxygens, like this. So it's a pretty simple system. Next will be acids. Acids are also molecular substances, but they look like they're ionic because they start with a hydrogen ion in the beginning. So something like this, HCl or H2SO4, HNO3, something like this. These are some really common examples where you see the hydrogen out in the front. The naming system is listed here, and it's based on the suffix of the anion. So here it says anion suffix for each of these. So you need to pay attention and copy this down to what the suffix is. If it's IDE, this is the system. ITE, this is the name. ATE, this is the name. We'll do some examples. Here I've jotted down the basic rules for naming acids above, so you can refer to this as we do this page. So here are the names of the ions involved in these examples. This is chloride. This is called perchlorate. This is sulfate. The one below it's very similar. Notice it's 4 oxygens to 3. This is sulfite. And then the last one is hypochlorite. We're going to go from the suffix of the anion in order to determine the name of the acid. So we have a little bit of each, IDE, ATE, and ITE. If it ends in, this should say, by the way, IDE. If it ends in IDE, the prefix is hydro. The element is chlorine, so it's chloric acid, hydrochloric acid. When it has that prefix hydro, it's a binary acid, meaning just 2 elements. This is a ternary acid where we have 3 elements or more. The suffix is ATE, so I go up to the top. ATE suffix ends with IC. So this is called perchloric acid. So I take off the ATE and I put on IC and then put the acid on it. This AT will be removed, and in this case we call this sulfuric acid rather than sulfic acid. The ITE suffix is removed and we add the OUS ending for sulfurous acid. And then ITE here, go go up to the top, that also would end in OUS. So this would be hyposulfurous acid. Lastly, we're going to look at something called hydrates. Hydrates are compounds that have water molecules tucked along inside of the ionic lattice, which is the crystal pattern. In this example, we have this substance, copper 2 sulfate, and it's got 5 waters. So that's how we write it. Copper 2 sulfate, and the 5 is the prefix penta, hydrate. All right, then sodium carbonate. So sodium is a +1, carbonate is -2. So it would be Na2CO3. That's just like naming ionic compounds. Use this dot. Di is 2 and hydrate is for water. So that's how we do it. Overall, there are 4 different categories for naming compounds: ionic, covalent, acids, and hydrates. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.